Why, hello there. Welcome to day 654 of watching an Elden Ring trailer. And we're doing a live watch today of the announcement trailer from E3 2019, 654 days ago. Holy shit. how are y'all doing tonight? Hope you're all cozy. Hope you're drinking something yummy. I'm having a Long Trail ale. It's a local brew. It's very good. I recommend it. But yeah, so how's everyone doing tonight? I don't have anything big because it's been real quiet. Goonstock says room temperature vodka. Oh, that takes me back to college. Hello, Skoski, Ois Mike, Goonstock, Bro Memento, Alan, Adrian, Lawrence, Chris. Thank you all. Imanos. It is a slow news day. It's been a slow news week. Everyone, oh no. Yeah, Silk John says he's from the future, day 10,000, still waiting. I believe it. It feels like that right now. PBR, there we go. For the someone on a budget. PBR got me through many times. I'm from the U.S. obviously by my accent, I would think, and the time zone EST. But I studied abroad in Germany for a semester, and it really ruined my beer preferences because I couldn't go back to some of my standards. Now I'm all ales and lagers, and luckily where I live there's tons of microbrews and lots of good stuff to drink, but I was ruined by Germany, which just had so many good and especially cheap beers to choose from. But and before we get going, I wanted to make sure I posted it in the comments, but we're still doing the Able Gamers charity, the fundraiser, and we hit $750. We are there currently, and I'm looking forward to seeing how far we can take that. The fundraiser will run until April 15th, so no rush, but so I just wanted to throw that out there to see what we can do. I'm really happy we've raised $750. That's awesome to help out. If the average is $350, we've already helped out 2 people potentially to help reduce their barriers to gaming. So just very happy about that. Hello, Adrian from Poland. I'm sorry. So my plan is, and I won't make any guaranteed plans right now, but on April 15th, which is a Thursday, I am hoping to do a live stream on Thursday that week instead of Wednesday, and to do it at a time where everyone who is not in the US can enjoy it at a regular time. Maybe do it earlier in the afternoon, my time, so that people abroad don't have to be up until the wee hours watching this or, whatever. So hopefully capture some people who haven't gotten to before. So, but yeah, so that's my plan for now. I don't know if it will happen, but that's the idea. So, but yeah, there we go. So yeah, so I have a few prompts, a few questions that people posted up the other day. And I thought I might tackle those, but obviously anyone in chat I'm going to give some priority to because I can get around to these when I am able to. But yeah, I had some good questions, and someone was asking just about game length and what we're thinking for how long Elden Ring will be. And just being open world, it tends to be a little longer. And so, I would say my typical, I'm curious to see, let me know what your typical length for a first blind playthrough. It varies per game, but we're thinking, let's go with primarily Dark Souls. I know Bloodborne's a bit shorter, but and Sekiro is theoretically maybe a little shorter, but it took me a while. But I'm usually clocking in 40 to 60 hours for a first playthrough. Honestly, closer to 60. I think Sekiro was actually 70 just because that was taking a while. But I think it goes down probably a little bit, as you get into it, because you're theoretically not spending 8 hours in the Berg, when you're getting to your second game. But I'm curious what people are thinking for. Hello, Simon Moore. Hello, Alexander. Hello, Nico. So I'm just curious what people are thinking for the length for Elden Ring, and I have to say I don't really know, to be honest. I'm gonna say, I still think my first run's probably gonna be like 60 hours. I don't know. I don't know if that's a crazy thing to say, but it's just like that is kind of what I spend in an open world game oftentimes too, unless it's something massive like The Witcher or, something like I still spend around that same amount of time. So maybe 60 to 80 if it's bigger and I get sort of caught up in whatever open world activities there are, but I'm still kind of thinking right in that range. I don't think it's going to bump it up to like 100 hours for me unless I'm really scouring it. But yeah, just curious to see what people are thinking. Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of 60 to 80, and that's typically what I do for Souls. And for some reason, I think the same for Elden Ring. I don't know why. Maybe I could be super wrong, but 1,000 hours in Elden Ring. We'll get there. And let's see. I think I put 1,000 hours into Bloodborne. I know that. I put 1,000 hours into Dark Souls 1, but the Dark Souls 3 is a few hundred, and probably about the same for Dark Souls 2. I think it's like maybe less than 500 in each of those games, to be honest. And Demon Souls, with the Demon Souls remake, I've gotten quite a few more hours, but it's probably about the same, to be honest. But that's what I'm thinking for Elden Ring, if it's everything. It is funny just imagining we've put so much energy, like I've made going on 50 of these videos, maybe even more. I haven't really kept track, but and then you get the game. It's like, I wonder how I've put out a lot of hours of content about Elden Ring, so I'm curious on what the ultimate ratio for me will be, like content produced versus how long I actually play the game, and we'll see. But yeah, so yeah, it really depends what happens in the open world. And man, that's something where like that's like next trailer, like interview material, probably interview material to really figure out. Like that's one of the biggest things that I've talked about with guests and that I sort of hover around, because I don't really know the answer, and I don't think we really can know, but like what is there going to be to do in the open world? Because open world games are such a defined genre at this point. It's really interesting for From Software to be tackling a genre that's so well established in a lot of ways, and I just think they're going to do their own thing, honestly. But I really think that's going to impact how many hours we actually end up spending in like a first playthrough. It just depends, like, because that's my problem with open world games like Breath of the Wild and stuff. I mean, most of my time ended up being, trying to do physics jokes, like just doing fun things out in the world like that. So we'll have to see, but my ADHD brain is very prone to wandering around and getting lost in open worlds. Let's see. Alan G asks, do you ever plan on doing a Let's Play series for Elden Ring and a lore-heavy playthrough, kind of like what Epic Namebro does? The sky is the limit. Especially, so I did my first real like YouTube series where I moved from doing mostly running like a website to doing YouTube stuff was my BL4 and lore, which I didn't quite finish. But the basic premise of that was that I had the Lore Hunter website, which collected Bloodborne lore content, and I wanted to share that out through like a Let's Play, so I could totally see something similar like that for Elden Ring down the road, especially when I think it's reached a critical mass and I have a really good grasp. I think I would totally consider doing something like that. Let's see. Yeah, Chris Sescott kind of gets the thing I'm talking about. That's a very good point. Will there be a recurring activities like in other open world games? Um, you know, yeah, that's the thing is like if there's like I'm thinking like Ghost of Tsushima or Breath of the Wild, where there's like camps you can sort of infiltrate, get into. If there's setups like that where you go around the world, like the thing is that's interesting for me is like those Breath of the Wild is pretty organic, but like there's so many archetypes for the open world system that I don't see from engaging with like a map with objectives like that. But then again, I think they don't have to do something like that. But that was an easy way to like mark and see which camps in like Ghost of Tsushima to see where you were going to go. And I really like Ghost of Tsushima, by the way. Um, so I really enjoy it as like but I think Ghost of Tsushima is also like, it's really clever, I think. And I think it's kind of underrated for being such a popular game. I still think it's more clever than people might give it credit for. But it's also, on the other hand, a very much an open world game. So I like to refer to Ghost of Tsushima as just sort of almost like a plutonic ideal for like the standard open world game. Something that's not quite as novel as Breath of the Wild or like The Witcher 3, which has a better story scope. You think the map will be like Zelda Breath of the Wild? Yeah, I mean, I would really like something like a Breath of the Wild type map. I'm personally kind of pro map, but map is like an object. Like, and I think something like Breath of the Wild isn't super invasive, but you know, definitely something where I can sort of orient myself. And as my friend Jeremy mentioned on the episode he guested on, he really liked being able to see where he traveled to. And I think it would be really important for me to be able to mark down where I've been in a way, like in the game at the very least, like put some markers somewhere to like get back to something. Because I mean, that's what I'm hoping the game does, is I see something cool and I'm like, oh, let's take note of that. Let's get back to this later. Because I'm really hoping that's the sort of stuff the game inspires. So I'm hoping that they give a good in-game way of tracking that sort of thing, just because, that's sort of what you need when you have a world of a certain scale. Do you think the map will be like, do you think the map, I answered that one. Yeah, Alan G says, I don't see it being as vast as The Witcher, bigger than previous games, and I tend to agree. I don't, it's such those teams that make like The Witcher and like stuff like Skyrim and other open world games are huge, and I haven't played a game like Outward, so I can't posit the style of that. And I think obviously From is a much bigger team than a team like Outward, but you could still make some pretty massive worlds. But it all comes down for me as I'm not super worried about the size of the world as far as I'm curious about the density of incident, like how often I'm running into things, because it's such an interesting thing that I don't know if you think about it at first with Dark Souls, is like you're running into enemies constantly, obviously, because it's set up, it's like a corridor filled with very scripted encounters. And so like we've never had a chance to breathe in a Souls game. Like even in Breath of the Wild, if you think like the density of incident is just lower because you just ride sometimes. And that's just really hard for me to wrap my head around personally, like how that will feel when I'm like thinking of like the people who made Dark Souls. And so when people say like, oh, Dark Souls 4, I'm like, but there's so many things about this just feel like they'll totally scramble my expectations for like a Souls game, which I still think I'll probably end up, putting Elden Ring in the Souls game category. But yeah. Thank you. Alexander Jones says, happy 6-year anniversary to Bloodborne. And then Dark Souls 3, 5 years. And 6 years, man. 6 years ago at this time, I had Bloodborne for a couple days already. I had someone in California across the country they knew they had a buddy who broke Street Date, and they sent me Bloodborne overnight shipment, and it actually arrived a day late, so I got free shipping because it was free shipping if they didn't get it to you overnight. But 6 years for Bloodborne, so I was a couple days in already, and I think at this point I was banging my head against Vicar Amelia. She was a real problem for me. Everything was a real problem for me when I played Bloodborne. It was the game that really got me to get good. At melee combat, I was a bit of a. I mean, I think any way to play the Souls games is totally acceptable, in my opinion. Like summoning, looking up guides, builds, but like I definitely leaned on having range like pyromancy and stuff in Dark Souls. So Bloodborne was really forced me to get right into it, and man, what a good experience. I was like house sitting for some people, and they have like a massive TV, so I remember I was playing Bloodborne on their massive TV, hoping that the Bloodborne logo, that was because they didn't have the menu, they didn't have the item descriptions up in between screens. I was hoping that the big Bloodborne logo wouldn't get burned onto their TV or anything. So, but yeah, happy birthday to probably my favorite game. Bloodborne is my favorite game of all time. So I say that pretty confidently. But let's see, what other questions are there? So Alan G says, playing Sekiro, I can see new mechanics though introduced that they didn't put in Sekiro nor in the Dark Souls games. Yeah, they have so much like cut content and ideas that we sort of know about, and it'll be interesting to see what makes its way into. If you haven't checked it out, it is really interesting. JSF Richie, guest on the show, obviously like one of the most intelligent people in the Souls community. I just think he's brilliant, and he has a video out today that is the return. It's called Return to Yarnum. It's on the Sinclair Lore channel, where he makes content with Sinclair, who's awesome. And he released a video, I think it was today, where he talked about some Bloodborne cut content, and it may have a connection into the Souls games, and it's super interesting for someone like myself, and I probably a lot of you as well, who are really interested in like the development process and from as a developer, and his supposition about how some of this cut content in Bloodborne may tie into Dark Souls 3 is wild. It's really cool, and I think what he says makes a lot of sense, and it's some cool it's sort of a cool insight maybe into the development. Sinclair Lore, let me see, I think I actually can do a little on air. I linked it, so let's see it. Okay, so I'm gonna link a tweet that I made, which is a little silly, but here is a tweet I did, which we'll link to the video. But so it's a really cool video though. I recommend checking it out. It's interesting in anyone who likes looking at just the development and how stuff may go together and cut content, which increasingly for me, it's like, man, as soon as Elden Ring comes out, I'm going to be digging into the lore, doing my own thing, but I can't wait also until like Lance and, all the other people of Santa DSK and Richie start like digging and picking apart stuff, because it's really, really good stuff. And it's just really good. So Bloodborne, that aggressive style. I really would love to get trick weapons in a game again. Like, it doesn't, I'm personally not a huge I personally don't want strictly like a Bloodborne 2, or if it's a Bloodborne 2, I want a sort of different story, because I think Bloodborne as like cosmic horror could easily have like a different story with just minor connections to the first game. But I'd really love to get the mechanics again, like get another chance at some of the like the trick weapons, even chalice dungeons. I'd be curious to see how that might work. Goonstuck is currently mentions Illusory Wall, Zuli the Witch, stayed. There's Illusory Wall was on the show. The stuff they do is amazing, and definitely increasingly something I'm interested in, because From Software isn't going to let us in behind the scenes. So it's how Acer. That's how we sort of get development information, is by looking behind the curtain. So through this cut content, and I think that's just really interesting. Yeah, German Spy's Bloodborne in-depth playthrough. Thanks, Chris. And an interesting thing I'm thinking about for German Spy is, so German Spy has worked with Future Press before, at least for Bloodborne, and it makes me really curious. Like, Future Press doesn't typically come in for their guides until near the end of development. One, because there's no point in going in too early to make it for an unfinished game, but it's also just kind of their style. But I'm really curious to know, if Future Press will be in on Elden Ring, and if they who they get to work with them, if they have German Spy again, or who they have working with them. Epic Name Bro has also worked with Future Press before. Lobos Jr. worked with Future Press as well, so they always get really talented community members in there. So I always it's a must buy for me for their guides, just because they're such a nice source. They usually have concept art, interview, just good stuff. Oh yeah, Meow Meredith. Yeah, there's so many good people. Yes, and as a channel, I am 100% all for shouting out people who do awesome community stuff, because I will be getting myself into the ring for lore and videos and design discussions, but there's a lot of people, and I love letting people know and turning people on to new creators, because the creators in the community are why I stuck with the Souls games. I walked away from Dark Souls 1 and came back and looked for podcasts, and it was through Bonfireside Chat, Twin Humanities, that I discovered people like Vadi, Epic Name Bro at the time of Dark Souls 1, and learning that there was so much under the hood to this game that I was looking at from such a mechanical perspective was huge for me sticking, because I've always been sort of narrative focused when it comes to games. Narrative and lore is definitely always Mike. Aegon of Astora's Let's Talk Lore series is incredible stuff. And I know he's very busy with his thesis work, but he's a great guy. I've talked with him before. We've had some conversations, and he's just a genuinely really awesome guy. I love Aegon of Astora, and he does a lot of good stuff. He did a lot of stuff with Redgrave, and spoke often with Sinclair and Richie at the Sinclair Lore channel. So it's a really great group of people there, and I hope that they all come out for Elden Ring, because I love their work, but life, jobs, stuff gets in the way. So, and this is a hobby for all of us, except for we're not all bodies, unfortunately. Can't do it full time. But Alan G asks, do you think that they'll have different stats, or they'll keep the traditional vitality, endurance, vigor, etc.? I think they will continue to have a very D&D-esque layout. And I think they'll have something new. Hopefully it's something cool and not like agility. But I was kind of thinking about that and wondering if there's any stats that will affect like stealth. And depending on how they do magic, like this is a blank slate for magic. It's not tied into any lore. So they could play with that, but they'll probably go like the intelligence, faith kind of route. I think they'll probably hew pretty close to D&D still. Yeah, who knows? Horse riding stats. Yeah, like I think that's where the game can really make itself interesting without totally revamping everything, is just changing that and changing what we're used to in that sense could be really cool. So I'll be curious to see how they tie things in, and if it's strictly stats or if they have any sort of skills that you can somehow implement. Like, I'm really curious to see if they're digging harder into the RPG side than they ever have before, I really hope that they're sort of doing something a bit new with it. I'm not asking them to reinvent the wheel, but I do think that the Souls RPG system, once you've gotten used to it, I mean, I've pretty much done the same stuff through all the Dark Souls games, and it would be cool to force me to, or at least get me interested in trying something different. Let's see. Yeah, the FromSoft fan community is amazing, and the passion and creativity is wonderful. It's what has kept me around for like going on a decade now, is all of that. So, um, let's see. Hello, Souls at Zero. Hello, Carl Mork Afseth. Do you think we'll get change to horses, or do you think, um, from what I understand, and I can't quite remember how much Omni has said about this, but I think he has sort of described this. So I don't think I'm going to get in trouble. So from what I understand, I think it's like you have a horse or you have like that like Yakule looking thing, and I think it might be a choice. It might be an early game choice. I don't know for sure, and that could change. Even if I heard that, it's been a while since I inquired about that, but I don't think you're gonna have like a stable of horses. I think it's gonna be something more like Ghost of Tsushima, where you kind of choose your mount as like an early game decision, and that's kind of what you have for the game. Let's see. Let's see. Alexander, yeah, I would. You know, for me, it's always a matter of scheduling, but I would love to. Love to get stuff on. I follow a weird schedule, so if anytime it's anything of length, it can be challenging. But I am happy to talk Souls with whoever will talk with me. Painful Discourse says, hope there will be something like Chalice Dungeons. You know, that would be interesting. And, you know, I'd had discussions where people thought, you know, maybe the underground area could be somewhat procedurally generated to offer something. So like Chalice Dungeons, but where you enter in the actual world. And that's a possibility. I just think they're already tackling a lot, and I assume that's, unless they're kind of reusing chalices, which I don't want them to kind of just reuse chalices how they have it now. I imagine a lot of their resources are just going into getting the open world sort of figured out. Alexandros asks, what's your personal reasoning behind your Team April hunch? That is purely if the game is to release in 2021, which I hope it does, then like beginning to mid-April for releasing a trailer still gives them easily 6, 7, 8 months to market and get a game out in 2021. Later than that, and I really don't see it being a 2021 release. So it's purely based off of me really hoping that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't have any dates in mind. I don't know anything additional regarding any plans. I have no clue what they're planning on doing. But that's sort of where I'm at. Is it seems to be that they're going to do something earlier than summer, and I'm just hoping that's the case. Let's see. Yeah. There's been a few leaks, and I think that happened after there was the Dark Souls 3 screenshot sort of prank that someone did on the subreddit. And as soon as that happened, I was like, there's going to be a wave of bullshit coming our way. And I think this is all part of it. And I think it probably would have happened anyways. But I've just seen so many low effort screenshots. And I've seen a few different 4chan leaks. And I'm just not holding any of it. I would love it to pop out April 8th. That would be awesome. And if it does, I still don't believe that person. Just because there was stuff in there that I don't think is correct. And I believe I had a few people comment, so I think it is something that Omni has talked about, but I don't think that portable bonfires are a thing, most likely, to my understanding. I had sort of poked about like if there was any of the Dark Souls 3 mechanics were being used, and it doesn't sound like that. So that is why I think that leak is wrong, is because they were talking about portable bonfires being a thing, and from what I've heard, it's probably not. I don't know what the system is that's in place. I have no clue about fast travel or any other details for it, but it doesn't seem like you'll be placing them most likely. So that could change, but because I don't know when that information is based on, is when in the development process. But that's why anytime I see something that's BS in part of it, I just sort of discount the whole thing. But yeah, so with that, let's get into the trailer. I'm gonna do the announcement trailer today, and if you've noticed, I've been doing the announcement trailer, and honestly, that's because I'm kind of over the leaked trailer a little bit. Like, I'm not over it. That's a stupid way to put it, but it's not a trailer. It's not really a trailer. It's an assortment of footage for some people to watch, and it doesn't get me hyped up as much as the announcement trailer. Honestly, I get way better vibes from the announcement trailer. So that's what I'm gonna do. Is I'm totally I'll pop back to it sometimes, especially if it relates to the topic. But I'm much more interested in vibing with you guys on day 654 to the announcement trailer, and I can't wait until we get a new trailer and some new music. It's really 90% of it, honestly, is the music cutting off halfway through. I can't handle that. Like, it just, I start, and the music, if you've watched, like, I start to get the head bob going, and as soon as it starts to build up and I'm starting to feel it, it's done. And then I'm like, bro, like, you're killing me. So it sounds promising. Honestly, I still think the announcement trailer music hits harder, but it feels like it got cut off before the climax, and that kills me. All right. Yeah, Davin Sosa says that it's kind of more helpful, this leaked footage, as like connecting the dots eventually, and that's totally what I see. Is like this leaked footage is going to be the source of a whole bunch of speculation. That's why I want to have a good grasp on it now, so I can be like, oh, cool, that changed. Like one thing we've already seen is that they started pulling tree imagery out, like the concept art pulled some of the tree imagery out in the Digic announcement, and the Digic announcement trailer concept art. There's a whole bunch of tree imagery in that zone, and then as you'll see, it's like mostly stone now. And I'm curious if that's like, if they're trying to pull back that for a later reveal, or if they're changing the way they express some of their themes. So we know there's still big trees, probably, but it is interesting, and that'll be super interesting to see, as we get into it, to see like what development suppositions we can make. But yeah, let's watch the trailer.
I doubt you could even imagine it. That which commanded the stars, giving life its fullest brilliance. The Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. Shattered by someone or something.
there you have it. Day 654 of watching an Elden Ring trailer. And yeah, still as good as the first day. And Peter Souls said, and I have to read this out before we go. I have a theory about the name meaning of Elden Ring. Based on Miyazaki's obsession with bells in his games, ring could not mean a finger ring, but to ring a bell. Something like Elden's Awakening. And, the games have often had multiple meanings to their title. Like Bloodborne is like a bloodborne disease. It is blood to help humanity transcend. It is all about the blood. But then also with the born part, you're born of the blood. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do with babies. So like Elden Ring is is another example. Eternal Ring is the Eternal Ring is actually like an extra dimensional prison for a baby god. That's what the Eternal Ring actually is. Even though the game is totally about like putting rings on your fingers to do magic. So, Elden Ring will almost certainly be something of have a double meaning of sorts. And, I really like that because Miyazaki does love his bells. And I could totally see that being a thing, like I've also thought things about a ring could be a group of people, like a Knights of the Round Table, a group of gods or something. So there's a totally many different angles on which this title could mean something. And, we will not totally understand it until after we played the game. But I really like that theory. It's a good one. So that's great. That's a really smart idea. So thank you, Peter. But also shout out to Alan G's wife. Thanks for watching. Any Souls widow or Souls whatever the other one is. I know my partner, she has endured so much Souls, although she's not terribly interested in the series. But so, yeah. Anyways, that's day 654. I want to shout out again one more time the Able Gamers fundraiser I'm doing. And I am running that until April 15th. We've hit our $750 goal. You guys are awesome. If you have the ability to donate, that would be awesome. We're helping people overcome barriers so they can play Elden Ring too. And I think it's just a really nice thing to do for the community, and I can say that so far I will be donating at least an additional $75, so that'll be on top of that. So let's see how far we can take that. Links in the description, and so that's been day 654. I'll see y'all tomorrow for day 655. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good night, good morning, whatever it is for you. So I appreciate y'all hanging out. I've had a blast. I'll see you later.